Hello, beautiful people of the world. Adrienne here, aka Ace. Today I've got Jason with me and he needs a trim. In our consultation, we decided that he likes to have a number 2 on the sides, and I've cut his hair before, so I'm definitely familiar with what he likes. So when I do a number 2 and I hold it up to his scalp, I can see that it's been about a month, and I know that because the hair is about a ½ an inch long. So that gives me an idea of how much I need to take off the top. That's a great way to help somebody tell you how much they want off, is by asking them either, if they don't know what number guard they like on the sides, it's a good thing to ask them maybe how long it's been since their last haircut. Those 2 things will let you know how much that person needs off so that you're not going to get it too short. And you know, we talked about the front. We wanted to know if he likes to leave a little length. It looks like he does. But you know, I err on the side of long. You guys know me. That way, if we want, we can always take more off. Okay, let's get started. Put our nice cape on. I start out with dry for men's clipper cuts. I think the clippers cut better that way. I'm gonna turn you so that everyone can see your head. So here's my tips that I like to do with people. I find that when we're working with anything besides Nubian hair, you know, like anybody other than African American, I'll start out with my number 4 guard. Let's comb this a little so we get everything to where we can see. I start with my number 4. That way I just reduce how much I have to blend around the sides. Tilt your head down for me, Jason. And I just kind of start up here. And I use this to do some pre-blending. This really reduces how much time I'm going to spend blending his hair. And I'm kind of keeping this part flat against his head like this. If he had a longer top, I would kind of rock this out like this. But he has a short top, so we don't want to spend all day blending. That's why I start with the number 4. But like I said, if you have someone with Nubian hair, African American, more than likely you're going to have to start at the bottom with your shortest guard. I have found that that's the only way to get it to blend. I'm sure you guys who do this have found that to be true as well. So I'm not even worrying about this lower part right now. I'm just going to get my blending out of the way. Because I don't know about you, but these guys that get haircuts pretty often, Jason probably comes in anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks average. They don't want to spend forever in the chair. They want to get in and out quick, and you might be able to fit him in between a color. So you want to be efficient. You don't want to spend all day. And then he gets a number 2. So I'll just go in with my number 2 now. And I'm going to make sure to keep the head, keep the guard flat with this part right here. I don't know if that camera can see that good over here. And look down for me. And then I will kind of rock this up a little just to blend it. And I'm watching where the hair goes into the 4. For some guys, this part grows out really fast. You might go in there maybe with just a number 1. Depends on the person. So see, I'm just blending that right into the 4. You can already see that this has the kind of shape that I want it to have, so I'm not going to spend forever making this perfect. You know, and be gentle. You don't want to scrape them. You want it to be comfortable. You don't want to catch their ears. Kind of going in at an angle here on the sides. And the more you do these, the better you're going to get at it. Most people don't really like that, you know, mushroomy sides right here where they're kind of poking out. Some people like it, but a lot of people don't. This part's going to grow out really fast. It's going to stick out if you don't get it tapered in good enough. And that's how they're going to gauge whether or not they like what kind of haircut you give, is if in a couple days or in a week, if those sides are just bulging out right here and it's hanging over their ears, well, they're probably not going to call you back. Clean that up really good. And I think I will do that because he's fuzzy around the sides. So I'm going to grab one of my number 1 blades that I like. And these, you always disengage the blades and put on another blade while the motor's running. It's always a good idea to do that. Snap it on while the motor's running. Never want to have this turned off when you do that. And then I'm just going to go in at an angle right around his ears. And I'm going to clean this up with trimmers too. But I just like to get that just a tiny bit shorter because this grows out the fastest. Same thing on this side. I'm kind of going it at an angle, so I guess I'm just using sort of the corner here. This blade would be like the equivalent of a size 1 guard. I think this just does a better job of getting every hair. Okay, look down. And then with this, you know what you can even do is you can even go in like this. Since it's just a 1, it's not that much shorter than a 2, so I'm not going to create a line by doing this. But just keep this part flat against the head. You can kind of go down with it. And this works really well to just taper this off. It buys them some time. Keeps it looking fresh longer. You know, and if someone doesn't like an actual line, you can fade this all the way down into nothing. I have blades that do that, shorter blades, so you can just fade it down into nothing. And then I'll just kind of go up just at the very bottom to clean it up. So now we're going to go in with our trimmers. I like to ask them about their sideburns and look at them in the mirror and find out how short they like their sideburns. Do like about halfway on your ear. Ask them how much sideburns they like to have left. Do you just like it to go straight into the... Do you like to have a line at all?
Just a halfway.
Yeah, like right in the middle of the ear?
Exactly.
Okay. And a lot of times you can tell just based on how their hair looks from their last haircut. Let's go this way. A general idea of their sideburns. He likes to go halfway. And you know what I'll do? Because the ears aren't always even, but you can tell if the sideburns aren't even. Stand in front of them, put your hand at the halfway mark on each side. Look in the mirror. If that doesn't look even, then you know that their ears might be just a little bit off, and that's fine. Compensate for that, because that's what's going to look more obvious to people, is if a sideburn is lower than the other because the ear is off, it will show. So that I do that. That kind of helps eyeball it. He's got a little bit in his ear. Clean that up. This is why I like my blades to be aligned, so that I can do this close to his ear and I'm never going to cut him or nick him. I mentioned that in my last video. If your tools are nicking people, you need to align your blades, you need to oil them. They shouldn't nick people. I'm going to move his ear out of the way with my finger. You guys can see that. Line that up around his ear nice. If they have straight pieces on the sides, you can always get that. Let's do this here. do that right now because I don't have a mirror in front of me. I'm gonna do this to make sure for you. See, and this side does look to me like it needs to be higher right here. Okay. See, that gives me an idea. And I'll visually check it again. Because we send them home with one sideburn higher than the other. They're not calling back. Most of the time. Unless you just did exceptional on everything else. Okay, look all the way down for me, Jason. Do you like a rounded neckline or a square neckline? Or a blended?
I feel blended.
Okay, no line? Okay, well I'm going to do that with my clippers instead. And see how they just sound a little overworked. And they feel hot. That means they need oil. And they don't need a lot of oil. Just right at these little points right here. One there. Let it soak through. You don't want it to be hot. That means there's too much friction. And then one right here. There's even a cool lube spray that Oster makes that I really love. But see, it's already starting to sound better. Maybe it needs one more. You'll get to know your clippers. These are my favorite clippers. Watch my tool video that I have that I talk about why these are my favorite clippers. You'll get to know how they're supposed to sound. And you'll love them so much that you'll just want to take such good care of them. Okay, this down for me. I'm going to open this up. Same thing that I was doing before. This is a little bit more. I'm going to keep this kind of flat so that I'm not going to create a line. Watch for moles. Don't want to shave off anybody's moles. Or you could go down too, the method that I was just doing earlier. You can do this if you want. That doesn't always work on every person. It depends on how thick their hair is. Going down, or if you don't want to use anything that's you don't want to use any sizes that are too distant from each other. Maybe only one size difference from here to here. Otherwise you're going to create a line. But a lot of people like you to make sure that there's nothing down below their collar. And by having him tilt his head down, I'm making sure that I'm not going to scratch him with the clippers or anything like that. Okay. He's going to be a little itchy. I probably would have used my blow dryer, but I didn't plug it in. Alright, now, any of you who've watched my other videos, you know my favorite spray bottle. I love spray bottles that spray in a mist. I've talked about why. If you haven't heard that yet, check out my other videos about why that is. I love having conditioner in it. That's going to keep it from drying out so fast. And if it does start to dry out, just respray it. You want to keep it evenly wet. Unless he's getting clippers on the top, then you want to keep it dry. Some people will even ask you to take the 4 up in here to get this super short. Some people's cowlicks in the back do really well if they're just cut super short. Others don't. Others don't lay down. It's okay to ask people what their past experience has been. Does that hair stick up if you cut it too short? Does it do better if you leave it long? They a lot of times know what they like, so ask them. I think yours, it just looks like it lays down really well on its own. It doesn't tend to stick up. When we're doing really short lengths on the top, most of the time I won't use a razor because there's just not enough there to really grab. But I do like to do the front with the razor so that it looks a little softer. You don't get it. I'm just going to kind of gauge with what matches up here. Obviously it's going to shrink, so leave a little bit to shrink so it won't be shorter than what you talked about. Would you rather be able to take one off if it's too long? Check it, make sure it looks even. Some people have crazy cowlicks that they just know this one side shrinks up quite a bit. If you think that they might have that, leave that side just a little longer so that it'll look even. I'm gonna cut the top with scissors because I think the length just, it doesn't really do good with a razor. I like to start in the back. You could start here and make a guide down to the front, but I'm gonna start right here in the back. This is one of the few times that I will use scissors on someone. If he wanted it a little longer on the top, I would use a razor to give it a softer look, but he likes it pretty short. His is just about finger length, so I think it does better when you do it with scissors. Careful in the front, you want to see where you cut before. Don't cut into that. You don't want to create a hole in the front. Make sure you have a destination, you know where you're going, matching it up to something. And then, you know, we're working with the round head. I've talked about this in my other videos. So my partings are going to be like this, angled, because he has a round head. He doesn't have a square head. If he had a square head, then I do my angles like this. So connecting that front piece, there's nothing to connect right there. A lot of times there isn't. I'm not going to take really anything off right here. Well, maybe just a teeny little bit. Because we want to keep it full. We want to compensate for the fact that his hairline goes in like most people's does. Most people's hairline is like that. So to leave it a little thicker, just kind of let that fall out. But keep your sections really close together so that you don't have any gaps where it won't blend. Let's turn so everyone can see. I think it helps not to cut yourself if you sort of, when you're holding the hair, I kind of have this part of my scissors sort of sitting on my finger so that I'm not like cutting into my finger here. I'm sort of using this as a rest, as a guide. I learned that after cutting myself quite a bit over the years. Used to do that all the time. Blending that in. You can already see how nice it's looking, how blended it looks. It's drying out. And then when you get to the side over here, it's gonna feel like you're just having a hard time getting yourself close to them. So just have them turn their head a little bit like this. That way you can reach them good and you don't feel like you're just about to fall into their lap or something. And you can keep your parts angled. It's hard to do once you get around the arm of the chair, kind of blocks your way from keeping your sections going the same as the other side. Same thing right here at the corner. I don't want to make it too thin right there. Kind of letting that stay out. And I think I'll go back around this other direction a bit just to make sure I didn't miss anything. You know, don't keep them guessing about what you want them to do. Or leave them sitting there with their head turned if you don't need them to. It's your job to let them know where they need their head. That way they're going to be comfortable and trust you, and they can just hang out and talk about whatever they want to talk about, knowing that you got it all going on, you know what you're doing. See how that looks? If it looks like you missed anything, you could kind of do a little scissor over comb deal. Just to make sure that looks nice and even. And I've even had guys that like it shorter than what I can grab, but they don't want it clippered. I'll get the bulk, the majority of the bulk out, and then I'll just go ahead and do that. Like use my scissor over comb and get it as short as they want it. Some people just don't really like the way the clippers will make it look like a buzz look, but yet they want it a lot shorter. So you can just do scissor over comb technique and get it shorter for them. Or maybe they just like it a lot shorter here. Some people do. Just depends on the person. I think that anyone that gets this short of a haircut, they get their haircut so often that they really know what they do and don't like. And it's good if they feel comfortable enough with you to tell you. And, you know, you want their hair to look good. So any advice that they can give you about their hair is all the better. I've also talked about in my other videos why I'm not a big fan of thinning people's hair. A lot of guys that like this haircut have extremely thick hair and they'll ask you to go in and thin it. It's not my favorite thing to do. Check out some of my other videos about why that is. It just sometimes, especially if they have very coarse hair, and if there's any curl to it at all, thinning it just makes it really bushy. It usually doesn't lay smooth. It tends to grow out really funky. So, you know, it doesn't even look like I need any blending here, but just to err on the side of caution, I'm gonna go in with my 4 one more time, just to make sure that's all connected good. Make sure I didn't miss anything. Nothing's really coming off, but I like to do that. Sometimes you'll find some that will. And then if it just seems like you need some more blending here, take your number 3. You just want just a little bit better right in there. Just do that number 3. And that just sharpens it up a little bit more. Okay. I'm gonna get all this hair off of him. During our filming, we don't have a mirror in front of us, but normally I would let him look at it. I would let him put his hands in it before I put any product in it. Let him see how it feels, let him look at it close up, whatever he wants to do. Show him in the mirror. I've talked about this before. I like to give them a mirror, turn them around so that they can hold the mirror in a way that lets them see the back of their head in the big mirror. That way they're not just getting this tiny little view of their head. We're in our filming studio, so we don't have a mirror right in front of us. So I'm gonna have Jason look at this off camera and tell me what he thinks. And then put product in it. And a lot of guys will want you to rinse their hair out too. They'll want to, because maybe they have something to go do. So they'll say, hey, rinse it or wash it. I like to shampoo it after the service. I think it's better with these clipper haircuts. Okay, thank you guys for tuning in. Check out my other videos too. This is all part of a series. Thanks, Jason.
Thank you. Thanks for the awesome job, Adrian.
No problem. All right, let's check it out. Let's go see how you like